to the Tesla Community Podcast, our channel. And it's nice having you guys here. And so maybe we should start with what I said previously before we started going live about briefly introducing ourselves and just so the listeners can have like a overview of who we are, why we're here, and we just go from there. So, Alexandra, would you like to start?
Oh, ladies first. That's so cute. Thank you very much. So I'm Alexandra Mertz. My Twitter handle is Tesla Boomer Mama. Somebody said soon I'm going to call it Tesla Oma. I don't think so. So let's just get rid of that straight away. I'm very happy to still be Boomer Mama. And I am now on my fourth Tesla. We may talk about that soon because we just took possession of our Tesla X.
Thank you.
Nice one.
Okay, Daniel?
Yes, hi, my name is Daniel. I'm coming from Switzerland and I have my first Tesla now. It's a Model Y. Yeah, and I'm really happy with it.
Nice one.
Great to
Nice
hear.
one.
Okay, so Claude, what about you?
Yeah, all right. So, yes, I'm a family man, father of 5 here in London, UK, and I have a Model X on order. So, bit of a mixed bag we've got here for you guys tonight.
Okay, so I'm Julian. I'm also a father of 2, and we have a Model 3, and we're also very happy with it. And as the children are growing, we will also be upgrading sooner or later to a Model Y, probably. We'll see about that, but what I'm hearing so far, it's also a great vehicle.
Hey.
So
sorry to mix it. So to mix it up for you guys tonight, we're basically coming to you from Switzerland, the States, Germany, and the UK.
True.
Cool.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And that's also what I love so much about the Tesla community. It's so international. It's just growing. Yeah. Until we have some people from Mars, right?
That's gonna come. It's actually funny when I did my, very technical ESG stuff a couple of weeks ago. I had so many reactions out of Asia. I didn't realize how many people were actually in Asia, and they were very into the subject and very knowledgeable about it. Lots of former bankers from Singapore or even the Shanghai area. I was really surprised, and I mean, obviously, everybody speaking good English, everybody very knowledgeable about Tesla. It was a great joy.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it is. It's surprising when you just discover all of the different groups really around the globe. Hey, just all talking about the same stuff.
Exactly. We already have some on our radar for future talks, and the only issue is like kind of the time zones, because it's like to the night when it's like a day here in Europe, for example, and but I'm sure we will find a way.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive in with our first topic about the order process at Tesla. And just to briefly introduce it, so one thing that is quite different than you could say legacy auto is, for example, there are no dealerships, right? You can order directly from the producer, which is Tesla, and then the order process itself. If you know what you want, it takes like less than 1 minute, right? It's really amazing. There's one channel. They are you can rent electric vehicles from them in Germany. They're called Next Move, and the guy who's like the boss of the company, he says his record is 38 seconds or something like that. It's just incredible. And I just for fun, I clicked through Rivian or some legacy auto makers, and you have so many options. It takes at least several minutes, or not an hour, if you really want to dive deep into all the different.
That's a very good point you make, Julian. But the bad side about it is that here you have the record holder of changing reservations. That's me. I mean, up to the car I now have, there are 14 changes, right? Because so I love ordering, it's done, I sleep well for a couple of nights, and then comes the moment, okay, should I have taken the other color? Should I have taken the plaid, or should I not have taken the S or the X? And then I go, and since it's so easy to change again. I mean, you lose $100, but I mean, what's $100 if next day you're happy, right? So there you go with $100. So for the current car, 14 changes, but the 14 changes, so that's 1,500 in cancellation fees and all the rest. That's one thing. But the worst about it is I took the price hike every time. So when I saw Warren, it was crazy. When I saw Warren, it was a month ago that he came and showed me his plaid, right? I was, and at that moment I had a plaid reservation. So I said, well, do I need a plaid reservation? And the plaid reservation DX only came as a 6-seater. And we'll get to the seaters in a moment, but 6-seater was what I really didn't want. So I saw his plaid, I saw the 6-seater. He was telling me about the acceleration. I was like, come on. I mean, I'm not the age of needing that sort of acceleration anymore. So that very evening, I canceled the plaid, going to bed, thinking, sleep over it one night, one of these stupid old habits, and the next morning you're going to do the long range. That was the night they increased the long range by $6,000. So not only did I have all these upgrades that I had to pay more and whatever, but in the end I paid the hefty price for it. So yes, I agree with you. It's easy to order, but it's also easy to cancel and get caught up in it.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I also felt a bit weird about how easy it was to just jump onto the website, flick through all of the options, and then there's this button and there's this kind of pay £100 or $100, and you think, and you just get an email, and it's like, no,
that's it, you can't.
Too easy. You know what I mean? So I actually did this several times over the span of about a month. Sort of just logged in and thought, oh, this is and then I thought, no, maybe I don't know. I need to go think about this. You come back, you go back and forward, and suddenly you go, right, tonight's the night, and you're gonna click go. That's it.
I hear you.
So I don't know what this experience has been like for you, Daniel, as well. I mean, tell us what it was like for you.
No, it was quite funny. I had an old car, and I was with my girlfriend. We was going for a test ride. And I was like, oh, that would be nice. I said, okay, I have to go to the garage in a near for inspection. I said, okay, then we can think about. And then I was out with my friend, and I was driving home. I had several problems with my car, and then I searched for my mobile to have internet connection and ordered the Tesla. So it was really funny.
Bing.
Half past 12 I ordered it.
And you didn't change anything?
No, I ordered
Good
it,
for you.
left it, and I didn't tell anything to my girlfriend, and we could pick it up on the 23rd of December, so we had a very nice Christmas.
Awesome.
Great. And so how long between ordering and picking it up? How long did it take?
3 weeks, something like that.
Oh, that's good. Oh my gosh.
Just arrived, and maybe somebody canceled his or her order, and we just took it.
No, when I ordered, there was written somewhere mid till end of December is the delivery in Switzerland.
Okay.
I said, okay, that would be fine.
Yeah, that was still the period when they knew when the ships were coming from Shanghai, so they were very precise in ordering and the delivery dates.
Yes.
So that obviously that seems like years ago. It was only 6 months ago, right?
Yeah. No, it was really, really precise with the time when the car is arriving, and it was really fun. Also, to go in there with my girlfriend, she didn't know till we got the car, and then she realized that you ordered a Tesla. I said, yes, I ordered one. So,
which one did you order? Which Model Y did you order?
Model Y long range.
Long range.
There was just a long range. You could order.
It's a wonderful car.
Yeah, I love it.
Which color did you get?
Midnight silver.
Midnight silver, oh beautiful.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, midnight silver, nice. That's my color.
Yes, and white seats.
White seats, yeah. And we just got for the first time the white seats. So our story is a Model 3 in 2020 that we gave back in 2021 because the 3-year mileage was already attained. That's my 18-year-old son. He did 3 years of mileage in a year and a half. So I don't tell you the penalty to give it back, but there we go. Then we got a new one for him because, I mean, once you're used to doing so much mileage, right, you need the next one. So he now has a 2022 Model 3 long range blue. but all of those black seats, and our Model Y, August 2020, long range as well, black seats as well. And now the X has white seats. And I was always very, very suspicious of white seats, but they're so beautiful and they're so easy. I mean, no stains whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same for me.
It's wonderful. Yeah, I love it. And
Yeah, nice.
all the legacy for the cars. I don't think there is a car with white seats.
Yeah,
They have
no, I've never seen
almost
it.
black or dark gray seats, something like
Yeah,
that.
or beige, you know,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
leather color. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
also like
Yeah.
that it's not leather. That's it. That it's
Yeah.
synthetics.
Yeah.
That's true. It got a nice touch to it, and
Yeah.
I think.
So what color is yours, Julian? And what
it's
year?
white on white. I
Awesome.
left it right from the start, and before, I don't know, 2020 or something, the standard with no additional cost was gray, and you could see many of those popping up. And then they changed the default color to white to have like less complexity, I think, or it was saving money, of course. So Tesla went for that, and then I was really happy because I saved like €1,000
Yeah.
just on the color. And but then it was like, now it's an invasion of white Teslas everywhere.
True, everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's getting like kind of too much, but I'm still really happy because, as you can see, I love Star Wars, and the white Model 3 with white interior really
Right.
looked like a stormtrooper.
There you go.
It's so awesome.
I was
don't
thinking,
regret it at all.
yeah, awesome. Hey, I was thinking the other day that the more Teslas I see popping up in driveways, it's really thrilling to see them. Anything that's more thrilling than that is when I see that they're not in their driveways. You know what I mean?
Exactly, when they're out there. And I'm always counting cars. I mean, it's passive now. I don't even actively think. And I'm like, about a year ago, every 15th to 20th car would be a Tesla. Then it went down to every 10th car. So I'm talking the greater west of the United States, because we're very busy drivers in California, but also going to Las Vegas. So that's where I start counting, right? And so that was 10. Now we're down to 3. 1 of 3 is a Tesla. This is absolutely crazy.
Whoa.
And lots of X's and S's now, the new ones, the refreshed, which of course, I mean, we're in California, we're in a privileged corner, but crazy. But again, so many white ones. And so that's what happened to me. So my number 14 choice was an X long range blue white interior 5-seater with smaller wheels, because we like to have the maximum range. And then they called me a week prior to quarter end, meaning the 4th week of June, saying, Alexandra, we got at the delivery center in Santa Barbara, all the same, but it's white, and it's yours tomorrow if you take it instead of the blue. You've got 3 minutes. I said, 3 seconds, we take it. And so that was it. And so that's why I have it now. Otherwise, it would have been in October, but the blue one was supposed to come later.
Makes sense.
Okay.
And Julian, tell us quickly before we move on. Tell us about your ordering experience. You know, how was it for you guys? Was it just straightforward? Was it, oh yeah, I'm just going to log in and just order a Tesla. I'll be there in a few minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or
of
was
course.
what was it like for you?
I played around with the configurations like years already, kind of like that. But then COVID hit, and the value-added tax in Germany dropped by, I think it was 3%, and all the kind of stars aligned to make it really affordable, and so it was like a no-brainer to just go for it right then. And yeah, as I told you, I'm a huge Star Wars fan as well, and so I always knew it needs to be wide, and also the inside needs to be wide, even though we get little kids. But I looked at like information on the internet and experiences from other families, and it's just fine. You don't need to worry about it. We just put on like a dog blanket, like a big one in the back, and it's entirely covered. There's no problem at all, and so that went very well. And I also ordered FSD with it because there was a price increase already being announced by Elon Musk like a month before that it would cost like an additional €1,300 or something. So I was really eager to buy it at that exact period because I already knew my dream configuration. It was never again that cheap. So in the end, when I took the delivery, the prices changed a bit, and I got sent like 6 different invoices, always changing like the amounts and recalculating the taxes, and it was really a mess. And the price increase of the FSD, and they even made a mistake. And I just called them, and they were really nice, and just changed it, and I got my like 7th invoice. And I was really happy with the order process overall. And yeah, it was so easy. It's like a bit too easy, you could say. So you get tempted, Alexandra, like you said.
There you go. And so that was what, a year ago?
That was I took delivery in August 2020, and I ordered it in June, I think.
Okay, and so now it will be nearly 2 years. Have you ever checked what it's worth now? Because what is absolutely incredible here in the United States is that those cars are actually worth more today than what you paid for them 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's the same. but it's true for used cars in general, and especially EVs, and of course then for Tesla as well. And yeah, it's an appreciating asset, as Elon Musk already said, but he was referring to it as working with FSD, but already now it's appreciating in value, and we drove it like already. It's a used car, so that's really interesting. And yeah, maybe you could tell us about your first order of a Tesla. Did you drive one before? Because what is also very interesting about Tesla is they have few physical stores, and Elon several years ago thought about closing them all down and just going online and just have like people.
Yeah, that was a riot straight away.
yeah. But I still think that some people have never actually sat inside a Tesla. For example, you, Claude, I think you ordered the Beast, the X, without ever being inside a Tesla. And
That's right. I actually did at one point. Yeah, at one point about a year or two ago, I tried to order a test drive, right? And there was availability, but it was sort of North London, and I'm kind of southwest London, and it was just too much of a mission to get up there, try to get away from the kids, try and come up with a good enough excuse. So I'm just going to go and drive around in a car, So I didn't actually get around to test driving one, but it hasn't made a difference. For me, it's I think I've just covered too much information, learned too much now that it's
and you're still not set in any of them?
I haven't touched a Tesla yet, right?
Wow, that's gonna be such a surprise.
Yeah.
It's exactly. So join me on this journey of madness as we buy an expensive vehicle that we've never seen in the flesh.
And I want to be around when you take delivery. You will be
and especially straight away the X, because the X is a beast. I mean, I'm quite pleased. We started with a 3, we upgraded to the Y 3 months later, we upgraded now to. So I feel like I did it step by step, because yesterday we actually checked it. The X is still 12 inches, so that's about 30 centimeters longer than the Y, and it's about, I think, 3 centimeters on each side wider than but you can really feel it. I mean, it is an impressively big car. It steers very well. The cameras are wonderful. No problem backing up. I had to back up in town into a really small space the other day with no problem. But you feel the difference compared to the Y. So you're going to start straight away off with the new.
I think, and all I've really got going for me there is that when we upgraded from like a Ford Focus to like a Nissan X-Trail, right? It's a lot bigger car, and I remember driving this X-Trail away from the dealership, just a lease vehicle. But I remember thinking, my goodness me, this is a large vehicle. Am I going to make it home?
This time you'll have to think. It's so much technology, because it's just it's overwhelming the first time you sit in there. It's so wonderful, but you have to get used to it. You don't have anything that compares, right? Just nothing. So you'll have the yoke that's different. You'll have the screen that's different. You'll have these cameras that are different. It's going to be a quite sad time. But I wanted to jump back to something you said, Julian. So yes, there was this period when Elon wanted to shut down all the dealerships that are not dealerships, they're sales and delivery points. But he actually did in this, and very few people talk about it, he did close down the sales function. So for example, in the Santa Barbara store, which is like the typical dealerships, a glass aquarium type showroom, and then in the back the service, and in the back the parking lot where the cars are prepared to then be brought to the customers. The sales part, the aquarium part, is locked, closed, and has a quite childish written paper stuck there, showroom closed. So that's it. So if you go there and want to see a car, I mean, you can still book test drives, not at the moment because it was quarter end, so there's nothing, but I guess by now it's probably back up. And then there is somebody who will check you in and give you the car and you can drive around, but you cannot go into a showroom, visualize the cars. That's closed, and that's closed for most locations now. And all those salespeople, so in Santa Barbara, I think there were about 4 people that were really 100% attributed to the showroom, because obviously it's open 7 days a week and quite long hours. So by the time you rotate the stuff, that's what you need. They are all now service. Not sure how happy all of them are about it. That's another subject I want to touch. But that was, one decision. When that decision came of cutting staff, that came simultaneously with that decision to close the showrooms.
Uh-huh. I see.
Right.
But they don't need them, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to,
I think.
and if you don't want one, well, you don't get one anyway. That's just it.
That's also why they don't need advertising at the moment. Maybe to fight for their reputation, but it's not like something they need to drive the demand. It's off the charts already. So
and in reality, their material is being circulated. It's just that they're not paying for it. We're circulating it. People, owners are circulating it. They're talking to their friends. Word of mouth. We all know word of mouth is probably one of, if not the strongest forms of
communication,
free advertising, in a sense. So
Yeah,
it's almost like arguing whether they should pay for advertising or they shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's almost a non-argument, because the material, the information is circulating. Okay, there's FUD that comes up behind it and sort of tries
So let
to
me ask a
derail
question to Daniel. Daniel, did you have showrooms in Switzerland or just delivery centers?
No, we had at least last November we had a showroom in Bern.
In Bern?
Okay, showroom. There was one Model Y, so that was the whole showroom.
Yeah, there were never
it's
cars.
like
They are
Switzerland.
selling
All is tiny. All is tiny, but there was one Model Y, and Model 3 was outside for test drives, and Model X was also one there for test driving. But I think this is all in Bern, but you can't take delivery there. So I don't know why I had to go to Studen. There's a small village somewhere further away to pick up the car, but there was no store. There was just delivery. I think they
on a
ordered
parking lot. On a parking lot.
Yeah, I think they ordered something like a parking lot, and they just put the cars in, and then you can go there and pick up your car. So
and how
thing was,
sorry.
The thing was, my thought was going with my old car there, take everything out and put everything in the Model Y and leave my old car there. So I told to Tesla that I will give back my old car, and they had about 2 weeks to figure out that they want to give me one Swiss franc for it. And I just said, no, I want nothing for it. I just want to drive there, that I can go there and want to go home with my new Tesla. And they had around 2 weeks to understand what I want. They always thought I wanted money for that, but I didn't want money for that. So that was quite, And then I got also an email that I got a notification in my app. I should pay for it. And then I called them. I said, I have no invoice. I don't know where to pay. And then I got an email from a sales member He sent me just an invoice. I said, okay, an invoice by mail. Okay, I pay it. But the next day it was in my account. I never had a bill in my account. Nothing.
Yeah, but that happens to me all the time. I mean, obviously, with all my shenanigans of canceling and another car and a different car and whatever, I'm always running after invoices from Tesla. So some of it goes on my business, some of them I need to show to change registration in California and whatever. It's always a pain in the neck because there's just not the paperwork I need. But they have access to my account because obviously it's stored for previous payments. They have access to my American Express credit card because that's the one that's linked to the supercharger. And I don't know what happens, but they always get paid much earlier than I actually do something. The money is gone. So I mean, I don't mind because I know how much I owe them, but then running after the invoices is really something. But I just think this is typically not a priority. And one day it shows up in your online account and you can download it. And it's just not as timely as I wish it would be. But the payment is gone timely. Don't worry about that. That's always gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is
Just
there
excuse me,
anything?
guys, I've lost camera for a second there, but I'm still here.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask you quickly, Daniel, before I forget, how close to Christmas was the delivery? Was it on Christmas Day, or you know what I mean? Was it
No, it was one day before. It was on the 23rd of December.
awesome?
Yeah. Then I was going there with my girlfriend. We pick up the Tesla. Then we're going home. And next day I brought her to her parents for Christmas, and I go to my parents for Christmas. And yeah,
Show
since then
everybody.
we have to. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. What else?
And so how do your parents and your parents-in-law react when you show them the acceleration?
They was really astonished. Also the neighbor from my mom, he was a truck driver, and he loves to drive cars. And then I told him, okay, you can drive. We can go somewhere. And then he starts driving, and he had so much fun. He always asks, can we go there? Can we go there? I say, yes, of course. I have the whole day. I have time the whole day. So we drove around 4 hours or whatever.
You made their Christmas. Do you realize?
Yeah. He loved it, and he had so much fun. And his wife said, yeah, okay, it's a car, it's a nice car, but she's not so interested in cars. But he was really loving it. But he asked me a lot of things about how much weight he can the car has, how much it costs, and yeah, we will see. He bought half a year before he bought a new car, and he's thinking that perhaps his next car will be also an electric vehicle, but we will see.
I'm always warning people that still have ICE, because the last 2 years were not normal, right? So they feel that cars still have a lot of value. But the same thing that happened the last 2 years of them actually increasing too much the value is now going to happen the other way around. They will decrease at rapid speed.
Yes.
And in 5 years, you're going to pay people to take over your ICE. You will not get any money from them to take your car. You will pay them that they take it, because if not, you have such high penalties of getting rid of it. You wait and watch.
Yeah, that's true. When we also had a ICE vehicle before, and I wanted to trade it in for the Tesla as well, but they stopped taking ICE cars because there were so many handed in Germany. It was like too much, and then I couldn't do it. All right, I sold it to somebody else. But it was also really insightful, I think, because you see, okay, they want to help you to get rid of it, but at the same time, it seems like they're replacing so many ICE vehicles that they can't cope with it anymore. There are too many of these old cars, and I think that's really also giving some hope for really transitioning towards EVs more and more, and seeing that happen.
Yeah, I'm very sensitive to the rate of repossessions. You know, in America, you feel it even quicker than in Europe. I always try to explain that in Europe, everything is a little bit more tempered. You don't have the euphoric hikes, but you don't have also the very depressing downturns. But In America, you can follow specific housing markets very well. Like I'm following Vegas, I'm following Austin, also Tampa in Florida. Those were markets that spiked a lot and that are coming down already very much. But also repossessions of cars. So repossession of cars is because the banks don't get served anymore, don't get paid monthly the financing that they've provided, and so they get back the cars, and these cars go on huge parking lots. And so there again, I follow the same cities because I just find they're the most sensitive and early indicators. And there are a couple of videos out there that I posted on my Twitter link for Las Vegas in particular. Those parking lots of repossessed cars are full like they haven't been since 2008. This is crazy times coming. Now you just imagine you want to be an ICE car seller in a couple of years when all these cars cheaply are on the market. This is going to be really, 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 really painful.
Yeah, very sobering. Yeah. Listen, excuse me, guys. I'm going to try and fix my camera.
Sure.
Sorry, I'll be right with you in a minute.
You might just rejoin to restream.
Exactly.
If it helps. Okay. So
I'll be right with you.
We dive right into the transition right naturally into the topic of taking delivery. And something that is really interesting, I think, is the idea of touchless delivery, especially with COVID coming along. And it also reduces complexity and costs and so on, which is always something Tesla goes for. And I'd like to see what are your personal experiences with taking delivery. And we just heard Daniel's already, but maybe you have some also some thoughts on what to improve in there.
Yeah, I think the time was really special with this COVID to take over the car. So he explained me from a little bit far away how it works, and then he advised me if I have some questions I should go to the service center. And then he called the service center that I will come after Christmas because I have some questions. I didn't know that, so I get an SMS that my service center. Then I called them. I said, no, I don't need to come. I have some questions, and they took the time to explain everything. I think if you are prepared a little bit for the new car, it's not really a problem. But if you have really no idea how Tesla's works, I think that could be really, really hard to just.
Yeah, I was just thinking of Paul, right? He better watches those videos before he goes there the first time.
Yeah, but even if you watch the videos, it's so different from normal cars. Also, my girlfriend, when she drove the first time, she sits in and said, "Okay, how to turn on?" I said, "Yeah, push the brakes." Yeah, okay, that's everything, and it's so not natural if you do it the first time.
Exactly, and then you tell them, and now you never touch the brake again. Then people go,
yeah, exactly. But it is. I think Tesla has to find a solution that if people are coming and have really no idea about Teslas, to show them really first how they can drive safely home.
Well, they do now here. Yeah, they do now here in California. I always think California is sort of a test center for the rest of the world. So here what they do, I mean, listen to this because this is something. They employ what they call seasonal advisors at the end of each quarter. So each delivery center obviously has one or two people that are here all through the 12 months delivering cars. But since they know the last 2-3 weeks of each quarter are much heavier in number of cars delivered, they employ people just for 2-3 weeks. Now, who is interested in a 2-3 week job? That's students, that's people who have other occupations and just, they don't do it for the money. The student may do it for money, but they don't do it if they really need money on a permanent basis, because if not, they couldn't live off 2 or 3 weeks of salary. Yeah. So my son is one of those, and he's been doing it now 4 quarters in a row. He absolutely loves it. But they are trained to do this quick. They are trained to not lose too much time. I mean, obviously, if they have the elderly lady and they want to show her, they take half an hour and do it. But they're training them to minimize the time it takes. There is method to it. It looks to us as if it's just quickly done, but believe me, there is method to it. And so that people come, the whole registration papers and everything is prepared. Their back office, contrary to what we see, me complaining 10 minutes ago about not finding my invoices, that's not how it works. Their back office is really, really well organized. It's just the front to the client that doesn't work as perfectly yet. But so the person arrives, the car is ready, the paper that goes with it are ready, the temporary license plate is ready. They have to sign 3-4 things. The person, the service advisor, the seasonal advisor knows what he has to do, shows them the Tesla cards, configurates the phone, in 3 seconds. Mostly the person doesn't even know how the phone was configured. and then they say, well, do you need anything else? And then it's human nature to say no. There's so many humans that would never admit at that very moment that, they would like half an hour of being shown around. They just say, yeah, I think I'm good. And believe me, that's their chance to close the door and say goodbye. There you go. And that's how it works.
Yeah. I think Tesla should do there something more for people. Just for people if they sit the first time in a Tesla.
Yeah.
Especially now that it becomes so much broader, right? I mean, the first are so enthusiastic about, we can take anything. I mean, something doesn't work at the car, I don't lose patience anymore. I'm so in love with the car, it's like a kid, right? But now that Tesla is broadening out to other consumer groups who need more time, who need more explanation, a video and here is your card, I just configured your phone is a bit little, right?
Yeah, that's true. They have the tutorials in the car, I think, but of course that's not sufficient for many people. And when I'm thinking about the potential future, let's say FSD really works, and eventually what they will have is probably they will be sending the vehicle right from the factory, driving itself to the driveway, and just being there, opening up. This will happen for sure if it works out, FSD. And then people have nobody there.
And I can tell you that's actually already the case. I mean, I don't have too much insight, but I know each quarter end when I hear my son coming back in the evening, he would go, oh, today I have 3 or 4 home deliveries. So what does that mean? These people don't have the time to pick up their car. Usually it's not their first Tesla, which is a good thing, but it could be their first Tesla. So one of the seasonal advisors, so one of the permanent crew, takes the new car, a second one is following, or if there's not enough time, they take an Uber for the ride back, go to the home of the people. There is nobody at that home, right? But they have their phone app, so they have the key to the new car on their phone. They put the key cards in the glove box and leave. And the person comes back in the evening and the new Tesla is there. They take their phone, they open the car, they get their cards out, and that's their car. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's already happening.
Whoa.
I mean, can you imagine Mercedes, Volkswagen, anybody doing that?
No way.
Exactly. How long does it take in Europe? Because I haven't done this now for a long, long time. If you buy a normal ICE car at a Volkswagen dealer or a Mercedes dealer or whatever, how long does it take for car delivery in time?
I don't know.
1 year. One year at least.
To get the car, and then the moment of picking it up, it takes what, an hour, 2 hours?
Yeah, my BMW, it took 2 hours.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, this is like I said, 5 minutes with Tesla. My ex was 5 minutes 2 weeks ago. I mean, obviously they know us now. My son was working there, so he had inspected it. So I'm certainly not the normal thing, but it was sign here. Obviously, they put it in yellow so that you can't miss it. And with the X, you still get the fobs. So 2 key fobs, 2 cards. Make sure your phone has the car on it now. Yeah, it works. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
$125,000 car.
Yeah.
That's true. So when we talk about reducing complexity, some time ago there was the exclusion of the home charging connector, right? Where reasoning was, on the one hand, I think the data just shows wherever they get this data from. And on the other hand, it's this analogy of comparing it to iPhones or iOS devices, where you have, or if you have one, you probably have two in some months, and then you have three, four, and over the years they just pile up, and you don't need that many. And I think this is also something, especially with Alexander, what you just said, getting into new kinds of customers who are not really used to EVs in general. Maybe it's their first EV ever, and then they don't have even that. It's a bit strange, I think. And I think really Tesla should think a lot about this, because right now maybe it's the wrong time to do the step, at least for let's say, especially Model 3s and Model Ys, or more like the beginner Teslas, because the other ones are so expensive in comparison. And I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
Yeah, I can understand what Tesla trying to do, because if people are buying multiple Teslas behind, then you have 3 or 4 or 5 of this, and you don't need them. But if you have someone who buys the first time a Tesla, I'm not really sure if that's a good idea to leave that away. So perhaps Tesla could ask the customer if he really needs it or something like that. Then I was happy to have it, because my wall box was coming 2 months later, so I could at least charge it at home with this mobile connector. If I didn't have it, I have to go all the time to a supercharger or something, because close to me there was nothing except in the shopping center, but this was mostly occupied.
Yeah.
So then it would be really uncomfortable to have an EV. So perhaps they could do it. Ask the customer if he really needs it.
Yeah, well, I mean, to jump in on this, we charge it only on the mobile charger, both of them. We have, American houses and electricity is a long story. I mean, every outlet usually is only 110 volt, and then so we had to find a 221 and get that outside so that it was close enough to the driveway where they're charged. So we're using the mobile chargers. As I told you, this is our fourth Tesla, and we're having two. We're currently having a Model 3 and the Model X. Now, when we gave back the first Model 3, we'd forgotten to put the mobile charger in it. So that one was still at home. The Model Y, we gave it back. The Model 3, a couple of months ago, came with a new one. And the Model X last week came with a new one as well, except they told us we had to order one. So I paid $200 for a new one. So now we have 4 at home. We only need one. It doesn't matter. We gave one back where we're supposed to give it back, but we now have 4. So soon I can open a market with it or go on eBay with it. But we use it every day. So that's why I don't actually want to let go, because who knows whether the one we use primarily is actually going to be used. And I want to have one in the car when we're traveling, just in case you don't find one. Usually we go to hotels that have destination chargers, or obviously we go to superchargers on the way. But I found it was a cheap economy, because it's nice to have in your trunk or frunk, to have it just for the emergency case. The same way that I find what they announced yesterday, that the X and the S don't have key fobs anymore, you can order them for $150. I mean, $125,000 car, $150 for a key fob. It's very cute, the key fob, I can tell you. I'm not leaving the house without a key fob, even if I wouldn't use the Tesla that day. So I like having my key fob with me. I just think those are cheap economies. But on the other side, as a stockholder, I'm very, very happy they're doing that. I mean, there is no economy too small to make the whole business as profitable as possible.
That's absolutely true. I share that sentiment. Claude, can you hear us again? And
Yes, I'm with you guys. Sorry, my camera is deciding to do what Don's camera did to him last time.
okay.
So
There you go. No, you're sitting in Dom's spot. I'll tell him.
I've got Dom's spot tonight. That's right.
That's the jinx spot. Now, let me ask you something, Claude, because I was wondering about that. Maybe you said and I forgot about it. So you got your X on order for over a year, and what is your expected delivery date now?
Okay, so yes, yeah, I placed the order. I think it's about 2 months ago now. So,
Oh, okay, so
uh,
it's short.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm really just trying not to raise expectations and raise hopes for any sort of delivery this year. I'm kind of hoping first quarter next year.
23.
But yeah, I
It's,
just
it's
see you, I just see you taking delivery of yours, and I'm like, oh, I'm really jealous now.
I'm so sorry. So it's what? It's an X long range or an X plaid?
Long range, yeah,
Long range, and
long range with the 7 seats, and
yeah,
it's because of the kids. You know? So
I can hear
yeah, yeah. I know you can get 7 seats in a Model Y,
that. Mhm.
but the two rear seats would be quickly outgrown. So
Yeah,
they're
very
not
small
really
size.
adult size. So yeah, blink, and the kids are all grown up, and if you want to go, we'll go somewhere together. Well, I mean, they're all teens, and yeah,
They
you're
don't want to
still
be
fun.
seen with you anymore, but they want to be seen in the Tesla. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been
So,
there.
but yeah, I'm thinking a year should probably
Mhm.
be the expectation at this point.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
in the
I
And
mean,
German.
did you offer a trade-in of your current car to Tesla, or are you doing that by yourself?
well, like we're saying, it's just purely on my own dime. We've
Mhm.
been sort of managing with leased vehicles for a while, and so yeah, this is it's a brand new world. Big step for us.
I wish I would be there. I wish I would be there the day you take delivery. I mean, from nothing to an X, I cannot even imagine.
Uh, I'll film the event
Yes, exactly.
when
Yeah.
my camera is working.
I
Let's put
think
it.
one of you has to go there. I mean, it's a bit far for me, but one of you have to be. I just want to see the reaction to everything, because on the
Yeah.
X you advance and you back up by a flip on the screen, so you don't have no sticks anymore, no nothing, no button. You have on the screen a little line on the left side of the screen that either you flip upside and then you go forwards, or you flip backwards, downwards, and you go backwards, or you can set it that it auto detects, and then wherever you are, the car thinks it knows where you want to go. So
So,
but when you come from, and I can't even imagine how you get acquainted to that straight away, because that you need to do when you leave, right? You're in that dealership lot, and now you have to take the car.
yeah, exactly. Either that or just sit in it for 3 hours straight trying to
Well,
figure out how
no,
you.
believe me, they kick you out.
Yeah, I
There's
know, I
somebody
know.
else.
And it sort of rings true about similarly to sort of the ease of the ordering process. Sort of, you
Mhm.
know,
Oh,
is it
you gotta have the
can it
paperwork at
be?
one moment.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, and I, I suppose it's almost like you have to dispel all the prejudices and biases you might have picked up along the way, having used ICE vehicles up to this point. There's a lot of complexity. There are a lot of things that can go wrong, and you really sort of need to handle it very carefully. And
I mean,
all of a
you're going
sudden,
from
there's
the old
technology
Nokia.
available that. Yeah,
Exactly, you're
sorry.
going from the old Nokia. You're going from the old Nokia to the iPhone 13 in one go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah,
alien technology.
yeah, it's going to be a very interesting ride, literally.
Maybe I will come around, fly to
Yeah, I
England,
think
and
you should document that, Julian. Can you imagine?
It's got to be done.
I don't know how you're going to do it, Claude. And I'm not laughing off you, just of the situation, because
No.
this
I
is
reckon.
big.
I reckon you're right. Episode 52 of our show, because that's going to be about a year from now, right?
let's make it more
Julian
than
will come around, and he's going to help me get the vehicle home safely, and and
yeah.
then we'll go for a beer, yeah, and talk
So
about it.
checking the German store, they don't give you an estimate, by the way, of delivery anymore. They
Wow.
removed it for Europe. I think they removed it for all
Right.
Europe some time ago. I hope it's not the case for your car. But
Well, I suppose you just have to get that email that comes in. Hey, that sort of
Yeah,
You
exactly. So
convert.
let me get that right, because I don't follow that very much anymore. I'm sure, Julian, you do. So in Berlin, they only build Ys, right? And only white and black Ys. So if you want anything else, meaning a different color or a 3 or an X or an S, it's still imported either from Fremont for the S and the X or from China for the 3s and the other colors of the Y, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, and they started ramping up, or at least kind of testing production for the long-range version of the Model Y now in Berlin, and but they're importing the cells from Shanghai and
Okay.
putting them into the cars here, because they're still in construction of the 4680 building, battery building. So this will take some time, and yeah, it's what I'm waiting for. Like when they are ramping up production there, and they are offering. Maybe you've seen it. They like teasers of the new colors as well, with a very interesting
Yes.
multi-layered purplish and glittery color. It just, there were some pictures like not well done, but you could already see it will look amazing. It will be like a
It's what,
unicorn
it's
or
rather
something.
purple or rather blue or rather red? What? Because I
Yeah, they
remember.
were all three, but in different versions, I think.
Okay.
But I think that there was one with a purplish style, and it looked
That'd be
amazing.
horrible for me. Can you imagine? I did 14 changes just with those 3 colors or 4 colors, and there I would go again. Oh my god.
Yeah, it will be insane. So, Daniel, you just told us, coming to the next topic. By the way, I forgot to do that. I wanted to have this. You told us that if they don't have the home charging connector, you need to go to the superchargers, and that's something I think is also very important, especially now since they are ramping up the production in Texas and in Berlin as well, and potentially announcing new gigafactories in the future. There will be so many more EVs, and they need to expand the charger network. I mean, you have already a rapid expansion, I think. So since 2021, they have a dedicated factory in Shanghai. I looked it up. So they can produce like 10,000 version 3 stalls with 250 kilowatts per year. And so assuming 10 stalls per station, a charging station on average, it would be enough for 1,000 stations each year. And I'm really excited to see that. I'm also following some supercharger update Twitter accounts where they're just posting, here's a new one, there's a new one. And I'd like your ideas or your experiences with that, especially with the supercharging network, and what you also think could be improved. What do you think about it in general? Everything to it. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have too much experience with the supercharger network. I know 4 supercharger net in Switzerland. I know 3 in Italy, and that's because they are on my road. So yeah, I love the supercharger. Even version 2 or version 3, it doesn't really matter for me. My car, when I was on a road trip, my car was always finished before I was ready to go ahead. So I never has to wait for a car. So for my opinion, also the version 2 chargers, they charge fast enough. And currently, I think there is the biggest discussion is the price on the superchargers. And I don't really know. I love the whole ecosystem from Apple. So I love also the whole ecosystem from Tesla. So I just sit in my car and say I want to go to Sweden, and I just put the destination in, and everything else is my car is doing. So I really love that. And so from my opinion, it's really the price is really worth for the supercharger. I don't know how it is in the US. If there is also a price discussion.
Let me maybe jump in there. So I got a couple of points on that one. The first one was, you probably all remember about a week ago for the 4th of July, obviously big long weekend here in the United States, some idiot posted a video saying at the Madonna Inn supercharger, which is on the Central Coast in California, there were people waiting hours and hours to be able to get to a supercharger. That video was 3 years old. It was from Independence Day. No, it was on Thanksgiving 2019, which was just the month before they opened lots of other superchargers in that area. So that was the worst moment. Tesla knew about it, had addressed it, but obviously the superchargers weren't open yet. And it was the worst weekend because Thanksgiving in America, everybody's on the road. So, and they obviously felt they had to repost that, not saying it was old, pretending it was from this weekend, this year, 2022. So obviously the whole Twitter army went out and denounced it, and that's it. But it just shows what a topic superchargers are. So there are a couple of things that happen in America. Like in Europe, they're building in America now out that other EV manufacturers can use Tesla superchargers. It's not open yet, but this is coming. This is also some goodwill to the Biden administration. It's also additional income, no doubt about it. And I think we've come to a critical mass where it won't matter so much that more cars are coming, because wait times have really gotten very slim. In the 3 years that we're now driving and regular doing road trips, we had one issue once where we had to wait 15 minutes. That was on the trip from Santa Barbara to Las Vegas on a long weekend, and we had to wait. And in that perimeter, they have done now 3 more. Baker has now 40 stalls. They're doing in Bakersfield. Not in Bakersfield, in Barstow, a huge one with nearly 100 stalls. So they've understood where the critical points are. Now, to the point that we are actually arbitraging, and that's where I wanted to come. So when you're on your screen in the Tesla and you put just any destination, the car will obviously tell you which supercharger you should go to. Now, we're getting so obsessed that we're actually overwriting the car's best destination. Why? Because we've realized that it does systematically bring you to superchargers that are more expensive compared to the ones that are less expensive. And it's not only a V2 or V3 thing, it's just, I think it's the way it's programmed. So we're trying to be smarter than the app. I mean, not that I have any pretension trying to be smarter than Elon, but I think they're quite capitalistic in their approach to it. So we're trying to find, and the good thing on the app is on the screen in the car, you can tap on any of the superchargers and it gives you exactly the conditions. And you have in America about half of them that have conditions where charging overnight, meaning from 8 in the evening to 8 in the morning or some hours like that, it's half the price compared to the day. And so if you know that in advance, well, you organize your trip to it, and we have the leisure to be able to time it as we want. And that brings obviously the price down. Now, let's face it, that means bringing a full supercharging session from $18 down to $9. Right? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's fun to do it because we love to be stingy on stuff like that. But supercharging is still so less expensive compared to gas that it's on the margin. It's fun to do it, but it's not really important in life. Oh, there is Claude.
Oh, yay, Claude. Hi.
I'm back from the abyss.
There you go. Did you miss the supercharging talk?
No, I've been listening all along.
Oh, you will need all that.
Yeah. Can you charge at home, Claude, or will you be able to charge at home? Yeah, right.
I will. I've got my. I ordered the on Elon's advice. Connector? He said get your wall connector soon, right? So I maybe over eagerly just ordered one immediately after ordering the car, thinking that maybe the wall connector will arrive 6 months down the line and the car will arrive 12 months down the line, something like that. But the wall connector arrived like a week later. So I sort of thought, okay, it's here. So I might as well just install the thing. And even though it's going to be a long wait, it's fine.
You can look at it. You can kiss it.
I can hang it on the wall like a trophy, or you know what I mean. So yeah. So yeah. To answer your question.
And good shout out to Don.
I think, yeah. But I am thoroughly curious about the supercharger experience, especially when you're going to go and sort of go for a bit of a longer drive, go up country, maybe
It's great.
pop round, visit Julian's house, for a beer, and you know, yeah. I'm sure there'll be a few visits to superchargers. I mean, you see them everywhere, and you don't have to own a Tesla to know about superchargers. And I remember just stopping at just a sort of a rest stop on a drive some months ago, and just admiring the supercharger. There was an 8-stall supercharger at the same place where I was just stopping for a bit, and I even thought about trying to make a little video and sending it to now so
You should
but
when
then
they
I
are.
realized, what can I, how that's so arrogant of me. What am I going to say about superchargers? I
Wow.
don't even own a vehicle, but still, I thought, no, this is, you just see things in the flesh, and it just, it goes back to my story from last time about just seeing
Yeah.
the satellites, just,
And are you aware that there is a supercharging etiquette? Like you should always leave a space between you and the next one, because the stalls are actually sharing. They're sharing power, right? So if it's not full, leave a space in the middle. The other one is, I mean, I found Tesla drivers are actually not very social at these moments, right? I mean, everybody goes there, parks the thing, puts the thing in, goes on the toilet or in the shop or whatever, and goes back in. But sometimes I really have good surprises. Sometimes when people either they recognize each other or just they're friendly and want to talk a little bit, much more than at a gas station. At a gas station, you obviously never talk to anybody, right?
yeah. And if you do it,
yeah, and I do believe there could be a big improvement still in the infrastructure around it, because I mean, you're there 15, 20 minutes, and I think you're willing, other than just wash your hands, to spend some money, have a good coffee. I think there could be stuff. And the other thing is, I find there, and this is now very typical for the west of America, so I can't be global, but there's still some dirty people out there that just dump their trash in a corner behind the car and then leave. And then, so there I come with my good old German me, put my gloves on, put my bag out, and collect all the trash and put it in the trash bin, just because that gives me my 15 minutes something to do. But it's a shame that we're still there and have to clean up after other people.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
No.
true. Claude, talking about your charger already being ordered, I just wanted to briefly show a picture I saw on Reddit, which is just dying with anticipation. It's this year. So this person
That's
basically
stuff.
ordered everything. You can see the charger in the background,
Already all waiting. Just
interior, all the additional stuff. It's just no car, right?
Can you imagine if the kid goes in there and makes something, breaks something? How upset the father is going to be.
yeah, it's like oh, yeah, it's like sacred ground now. Yeah.
So that's the level you need to reach, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to do it next time.
Well, with such long wait times, it's very understandable.
Yeah.
You're just gathering up all your extra bits and bobs beforehand. Yeah, sort of.
I'm
part of
also
the-
really.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add, with the etiquette that you just mentioned, needing to clean up. If we think about in the future, like again, if FSD ever comes to fruition, and you see autonomous vehicles, what will then the superchargers be like? I mean, you have autonomous cars driving there potentially, and there was the charger snake concept they developed. It was really interesting, but I think they discarded it for unknown reasons. But maybe it has to do with a Tesla bot. Just
Maybe.
like a gas station attendant, you have them just chilling there, waiting at the gas station, like, standing there and waiting for an autonomous vehicle to just take the charger and plug it in. Potentially.
And the bot could clean the car. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah, and that raises a really interesting point in the sense of, there are a lot of people now talking about, oh, are there going to be enough chargers, right? Or are areas going to be affected, impacted by the whole thing? How long is it before, say, full FSD kicks in, or a part of it kicks in well enough for vehicles to actually be summoned to a charging point and then summoned away from that charging point, sort of autonomously. So it's almost like a vehicle. How far away are we? And this is just a question, sort of think of it as a conjecture, to say, could it be possible that at some point we're not even going to be bothered about whether we find a stall, because
Yeah.
our vehicle is just going to drop us at the front door of the mall or the shopping center, or or wherever it
Pick
is
you
we
up
want
again.
to go, and it's
Mm.
just going to go off and get itself charged if it needs to get
Mm.
charged, and we're not
Yeah.
really going to be bothered,
Yeah, that's a good
about it that
point.
much. So it's like, is that potentially another paradigm shift, down the road,
Oh, I'm sure it's
on
coming.
top of a huge
I'm
pile of
probably
paradigm shifts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's coming. I'm probably the most pessimistic of all in timing. I still think, anything to do, well, regulators have to give their green light. It's just going to take many, many more years than we hope.
Yeah,
But then again, I hear from everybody, yeah, you'll see it will start in Florida, it will start in Vegas, it will start in Arabic countries who seem to be very favorable to that, which is actually a surprise to me, because I would have thought, they were rather for anything petrol orientated, but there you go. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're coming. I wish it happens. I mean, can you imagine how wonderful that would be? You decide tomorrow you want to be in New York, and rather than having to take a plane, some people don't like planes. I actually think planes is really, at the moment, such a waste of energy and money. All these people, I understand after 2 years want to travel, but my gosh, have you seen the airports lately? I mean, it's travel, it's the last time in the world they can ever travel. And so we're having the biggest energy crisis in the world. And at the same time, we have the most tourists taking planes to destinations that if they are not there, it doesn't matter, right? But there we go. We have to go there. So anyway, so the whole thing, I think, would become so much more streamlined and easier. Oh, you're gone again, Claude. If full self-driving becomes a reality.
yeah, absolutely. I think it will disrupt many things, especially what we talked about earlier with taking delivery, the car driving itself right from the factory to your home, and all things that we can't even think about right now, because it will create so many new options that are just have never existed before. And I think that's also what is so exciting about Tesla as a whole, where you see like the potential is so incredible, and it brings out the best people. I mean, we're here uh, offering our precious time to talk about this, and that's really remarkable. I think it really inspires people and drives your imagination so much that you get really excited and joyful about life, at least when it comes to these aspects, at least for me personally.
Mm. Mm. No, I
Yeah,
concur. I concur.
I think that could also solve a little bit the problem in towns, because if the cars can drive their own to a parking lot, and
Yeah.
during the night they drive there, they get charged, they get cleaned, and in the morning
Yeah.
they come back. I see it in Switzerland. We have so many parking lots where you really can't put any charger on it, so it will be difficult for people to charge there. And if everything is just EVs, then it will be a big problem. But if you can change it to this system, that the car doesn't have to stay in front of your house, that it can go somewhere and get charged back to you, I think that would be a really, really big advantage.
Mm.
But
You
I
can
think that
imagine.
takes more than 10 years.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
see, that's the
Quite
same with me. And
possibly.
I also think people like having their car. I actually, I love owning my car.
Yes.
I love that it's my car. I also love driving. I mean, not always. And I fully agree that sometimes it would be great. I was following this discussion this morning between Gary Black and a couple of people on Twitter, where he said, well, if really, I mean, he doesn't believe robotaxi is coming, but if really robotaxi comes, then we should reduce the number of cars sold to individuals, because then nobody will buy a car anymore. Well, I'm not so sure. I mean, I would like to have both worlds. I would like to have a robotaxi when it's convenient to have a robotaxi, because if I want to go to LA to a restaurant, I don't want to have to park it, and I find it's horrible. But when I want to go to my road trip, I want to have my car, and I don't want to have another car that comes and picks me up. I want to have my car, because my car has my battery behavior, and I was taking care of it, and it smells like me, and it is like me, and whatever. It has my sticker on it. And so I do believe that, because humanity always progresses and gets more spoiled. But I think the next level of being spoiled is having both access to robotaxi and having your own car.
It's like in your case, Alexandra, you've got a you're in danger of building up a collection of Teslas, but now you can justify it by having running your own your own sub
How
uh,
did you work
robot.
that out? And don't you ever talk to my husband?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean there, and it's true. The sentimentality around vehicles is very strong. It's
Yeah.
um, probably since
I
the
mean,
days of Ford.
I think
These
there's a
vehicles have just
real
been geared.
love story between the car and the person, right?
Yeah,
Not everybody. There are lots of utilitarian cars, but once you love a car, you love a car, and it's very difficult to let go ownership of cars, I found.
yeah. You make it an extension of yourself,
Mm,
like your phone.
yeah,
So
exactly, exactly.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
is actually it is much closer to my relationship to my car is much closer to my relationship to my phone than it was to previous ICE cars. See, the Tesla knows actually very much about us. It knows where we are all the time because it's linked all the time. It's linked to our home Wi-Fi when we're at home. It's linked online all the time through the Tesla car. I mean, they know everything about us. Let's face it. They know absolutely everything about us, as much as the phone. So I think people don't understand yet at what point a Tesla is much more the technology of a phone than of a car. I don't know whose kid it is. It's not mine.
We've got some little guys in the background here. I'll be right with you. Yeah.
No problem at all.
That's adorable.
I'm not really sure if that. I think that's a question of generation that you love your car, because I know a lot of teenagers. They just can drive now, and they say the car is
I
completely
heard that.
independent. I have nothing to do with my car. I just want to have a car when I use one, and the rest I am not interested in. So I think there could be a big, really a big chance that not anybody will own a car in the future because the mentality of the generation is changing.
I heard that. Yeah, you're right on that. And I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure age has something to do with it. In my generation, having a car, owning a car, and having your car was still very important.
Yes,
Yeah,
for me as well.
yeah, I can see it in my students. I mean, my students are ranging from age 10 to age like 19. So I have all the interesting years in between, and I can see that too. Of course, there are some who really are fond of their own car, and this particular one can do or whatever. But most of them they just want to get around.
Mhm.
And I do think it's really kind of a paradigm shift of the generations. And interestingly, I'm like in between these two, and I can also see both worlds, and that's why share your sentiment so much, Alexandra, where I see the point of having my own car, especially for my family, customized. I also have some new nice lights installed and everything. But at the same time, sometimes I'm just around town. I don't have my car right here, or my wife has it, and I just need any car to go home. And I would just order a robo taxi, so I don't really care about having a car at that moment or owning a car. I will just take any car that is at least clean.
Okay, now let
Yeah.
me push that a little bit. So, because I want to try to understand it financially, I want to actually counter Gary when I finally speak to Gary on this point. So I try to be prepared. Don't tell him because he's certainly not watching, so he won't know. But so, what would be the break
Gary,
point for you? Exactly. What would be the break point for you to substitute you driving your car that you still own to having the robotaxi? Is it high parking cost? Is it the pleasure of being driven? Is it the cost overall? Meaning, the robotaxi cheapness makes it just so much more attractive than using your own car and abusing your own car. What would, in that very second where you have to choose, okay, do I now press the app and get a robotaxi to pick me up, or do I take my own car? What will be your decision maker?
That's a very interesting question.
you know what? Can I share a story
Yes.
with you guys quickly? So okay, just to set the scene. I grew up in Johannesburg, right? So South Africa, not a very strong public transport system. So owning a vehicle is quite essential. So when I was old enough to get a vehicle, it was like that's my freedom, right? And I just grabbed hold of it, and it just became this extension of me, right? But when I came over here to the UK, and I experienced a much stronger uh, infrastructure around public transport, I was able to not crave owning a vehicle, right? I was able to get around wherever I needed to get around, and
You
eventually,
mean if the utility is there, you can spare it?
yes,
If the
yes, yes.
That's
I even,
interesting.
yes, even to treat myself on a Friday after hours, I'd get off at my train station, and then I would use a taxi to save myself the 10-minute walk to to my
Yeah,
flat,
just because it was
and
there, right?
yeah, and the comparison there is that would have been the robo taxi, right? And I wouldn't have
Okay. Well, let's
minded. I wouldn't.
Let-
Yeah,
Yeah, let me respond to a question we just got from Oliver in the comments, who said many people don't have the option of owning a car because they're disabled, age-related, or license revoked. That's a very good point. My former father-in-law is disabled, so he had a car specially equipped for driving as disabled, but it was a pain for him, getting into the car, the wheelchair, and then finding parking spaces. I mean, now it's more common that there are lots of handicapped parking spaces, but at that moment it was really complicated, and that's true. I mean, robotaxi is going to change the world for them. I don't think they will even consider anymore owning a car that has to be specially equipped
Yeah.
for them, whatever. But I still think there is going to be a huge portion that will want both, own a car and use robotaxi. And I try and I'll ask a lot of people, and you're my first guinea pigs in there. What will it take for you to make in the morning the choice? Okay, today I take the robotaxi, or I leave the car at home, or I prefer taking my car. What's the thing that makes it happen?
Yeah.
I
For me, I
suppose.
think it. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Julian.
Yeah, for me, it would be availability and organizational issues with my family. So if for example, I just had one car, and my wife would take it out, obviously I would need some other car
True.
then. Usually I'm riding my bike, but
So that
just
would mean you would have reduced ownership from 2 cars down to one, right?
yes, especially now it
Okay.
would absolutely make sense because as I told you guys like at the beginning of our talk, maybe even before we went live, we want to upgrade to Model Y eventually because our children grow, and then I have like a spare car. I have a Model 3 just lying around because I usually, me personally, I don't drive that much. I can just ride my bike for 5 minutes and I'm at my school, right? So, and usually I also drive around town just with my bike. I don't do like long road trips or anything. So for me personally, um, I would be happy with one car. But if I needed one, it would just be the case, is there a car available, which I need right now? And if there was a permanent need for a second vehicle, and if ordering a robotaxi takes time, like you need to wait like for 15 or 20 minutes, which could be realistic, and if I see that often it bothers me because then the deadlines are missed or something, or I'm late, then I would probably consider buying one. But I would try it out first and see how it actually how well it does owning just one car or no car at all, and then I can still buy one, right?
So you think robotaxis will be in higher demand on rainy days?
Yes,
Yes.
Most likely,
definitely.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It
I
doesn't
mean,
seem like it.
this is crazy. Thinking about all this, I get into these rabbit holes. It's crazy.
It doesn't
Yeah,
At
doesn't
the end of
it's well. It seems like a transitional. It seems inevitable that there be a transitional period. So, and the transition won't be so much external as it will be to people's perceptions, people's paradigms. So so we might not even realize just how hooked we are on the 20th century paradigm of owning a vehicle versus the 21st century paradigm of not needing to own a vehicle and still having more and better freedom than you had when you owned the vehicle. Because, and I say better for various reasons, including the fact that you wouldn't have to maintain the vehicle yourself. And that's a big one. I remember back to my earlier days. My first car was my baby, and I would cherish it, and if I would do anything I could to maintain it myself, and every time I went into the shop, I would be there like a nervous
Yeah.
parent, like,
Holding hands.
how is it, and yeah,
And that's done now,
yeah.
right? Now it's down to utility, but you wait for that X. That's exactly what happened to me. Up to 2020, I couldn't care less about the cars. It was my husband. He was like, what shall we take? So take whatever, doesn't matter as long as it drives. Then we went into electric cars. I was like, okay, so now we have electric cars. Couldn't care less, right?
Yeah.
And then I had the first Tesla, and now I'm so obsessed. I mean, I'm not spending money on anything significant other than my cars now. You would have told me that 5 years ago. I would have told you I'm crazy. And that's why I'm trying to extrapolate what will happen in 5 years. Let's just say we get through all these government and regulations. Now there are these robotaxis. Can I give up on this possessive need to have my own car? And I just don't think so. I mean, maybe it's only Tesla drivers that are like that, but I mean, you have no idea how. Listen to any of us who have it, Daniel and Julian.
Yeah.
We get stars in our eyes as soon as we talk about our cars. We remember the time we picked it up. Do you remember any other car date where you picked it up? I mean, not me, for sure not.
Yeah, that's
Point
true.
taken.
Yeah, but I think the only way will be trying it out and seeing if it actually is that much of an influence. Because sometimes you cannot really, at least for me, sometimes I cannot really go into thinking in that kind of reality, right? I know what this reality might look like, but I cannot perceive myself living in that reality. And I think the only way is to eventually end up in it and actually have the choice, and then I will probably see.
Yeah. And Oliver's making a good point here. He says in the comments, parents would rather have their kids use a robotaxi than go into an Uber. And I mean, I was in that situation. My kids were the Uber kids, right? Before they had cars, or when there was one car and multiple kids wanted the one car, so they couldn't, obviously. And obviously, the other thing I have to say I'm very proud of here in California is if ever they were partying, as soon as they drank, they would take an Uber home. There was no doubt about it. They would never drive. The cars were wherever there was, but they were always very good about that, which is a very good thing about Californian culture. But anyway, so talking about that, that makes me think there are three solutions. One solution is you have your car, you drive it. Second solution, you have your car, but you use it as FSD, meaning your kids can drive it even if they're not in the age to drive, right? Because now it's your personal robotaxi. And then the third one is having anonymous robotaxis, right? You have an app like the Uber app, you press and an empty car comes here and you use it to get to your destination, and that was it. You'll never see that car again. So I'll try to model this out. I mean, all my financial models up to 2030 are not considering anything else than the FSD income, just that people want to pay for being able to drive by themselves. I never modeled any robotaxi income into that. But slowly it grows on me. I mean, I don't like FSD yet. It scares the heck out of me. I'm probably the worst FSD beta tester ever because I can't do it. I gave up after a month. But slowly but surely, I mean, and if it gets to me, if I'm able to start thinking about it, it must get to younger, more tech people much quicker than to me, because I'm very slow adapter, no doubt about it. So there are very clear advantages. I mean, can you imagine making sure your kids get back home safely in your car is just a wonderful advantage.
It is.
Dad, there we go, Dad.
Yeah.
Nice transition to the next subject.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
So we wanted to talk about birth rates, as this is a recurring topic, and Elon Musk always pushes his thoughts on this. And I think he really got some very interesting points. And I mean, here we have Alexandra, you with 5 children. There was 5, right? And Claude, you as well. So what are your ideas on the topic of declining birth rates, which is something that, at least for me, wasn't on my radar before. I was in the kind of social dogma of there's too many, or we're quite fine right now, but in the future Earth will just collapse. But if you actually look at the numbers, and it's relatively easy to understand how to calculate this, extrapolate how the birth rates will decrease actually in the future,
Yeah.
the more society develops, or the whole civilization. It really is kind of mind-boggling to see this right now. Yeah, I think it's a topic that is very dear to your heart as well, Alexandra, right?
It is, because I mean, I had my 5 children without thinking much. I mean, obviously, I don't want to, you better think, but I started early. I kept on going. Every 3 years, I had another child. I was having my professional period, and somehow it fitted in. If I would have thought about it, I certainly would have never gotten to 5 children, and what a shame it would have been. So I'm trying to use the little public awareness I can create to talk about this subject, because I feel it's very important to talk to the younger generation now that's between 20 and 40, to be aware of it, because women have a biological clock. If they can't make children because it's just impossible, well, think twice. Maybe it's not as impossible, but if it really is impossible, at least freeze your eggs, because it is the window is so small. And if you don't do it, I hear from so many women 35 and older that say, well, now suddenly I realize it's too late. Now I would like to have children, went to my doctor, can't do it, would need lots of operations and interventions and help. And it's just such a shame, right? So I just want people to know it's nothing romantic. Bringing up children is a heck of a job, but it is the most gratifying thing you can do in your life. Oh yeah, no doubt. And you with your school children on top of it, I don't know how you do it. I think my 5 is already. But first of all, they grow out of it. My youngest is now 19. I now have suddenly time again for hobbies like Tesla and putting time in it. I mean, wouldn't be able 10 years ago, but now I am. And there is, this is something that's beyond money and beyond social status or whatever. And it is such a shame currently. Poorer countries, poorer households make children, and richer households don't. And I think there is also a little element of being entitled and spoiled, because children will disrupt that. Children will change your habits. They take over. They have no consideration for your thoughts, and they have no patience with you wanting to do anything else. They need your full attention. But it is still so worth it. And so if I could be the little advocate that today somebody listens to and says, you know what, let's do it. Let's make that 3rd child, or let's make that 1st child. I'd be very happy. I even propose to be the godmother of all of them. There's no problem. They'll all get their presents. They'll get their vacation in Vegas once I live there. No problem. But I really want people to consider making children.
Yeah, it is a big deal. I've grown to be a bit. I think personally, I feel a little bit more familiar with the subtlety with which, like, Elon sort of almost mentions something, and if you listen, it's like he doesn't really talk about stuff that's not important. And the way that we can relate, at least also the way that, if you don't, if I can contribute, the way I can relate to that as well is, there was a time when I would have also thought, oh no, there's a population explosion. The world is in crisis with population explosion. I just recently saw a documentary by David Attenborough, right? Who would still probably insist that there's a population explosion problem. But I think he was kind of, in my opinion, he was coupling that with the the problems of devastation to wildlife, and to wild lands, and to pollution, that sort of thing is an issue. It feels a bit like maybe if that's coupled to population growth, perhaps it needs to be decoupled, in the sense that, because David in his documentary is saying, look at Japan, such a great example, but Elon would look at Japan and say, look at Japan, that's an example of a problem, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's true, like Julian is saying, if you do look at the numbers and you think about it, and like you're saying, Alexandra, you look at the window of opportunity for procreation, then it isn't actually that big.
No.
So, and But to add further, um, in my own experience, there are subtle, more seemingly subtle issues with childbirth that sort of pop in my mind, and it includes things like um, hospitals. In my opinion, hospitals seem to treat pregnancy like a medical condition
Oh,
that
sure, because
needs
it's a money
treatment.
maker. Claude,
Yeah.
of course. I mean,
Yes, yes.
I
So
did
they
birth
need,
at home.
yes,
I don't know. Did your wife
yeah.
give birth at home? Yeah. I mean,
She,
and I mean,
she,
if ever
she
anybody wants to talk to me about all that, I'm most happy to share all that. I don't think this is a channel for it, but there is so much to be improved. But I mean, first you have to get pregnant, right? So just consider having children. It is, of course, it's a pain in the neck, but if you don't do it, regretting is not a solution.
It isn't. It isn't. And
How old are
maybe,
your children?
I'll say again.
How old are your children?
Right. So they range 3 to 10 right now.
Wow.
So
Five
yes.
in 7 years.
Yeah. 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 I know. I
Interesting.
know. I know. Like we got to number two, and we thought we were done. Right.
Mhm.
And interestingly, we took him to for his usual checks to the hospital, and there was a lovely midwife who looked us as we were saying thank you very much and leaving, and looked us in the eye and said, "We'll see you again." And of
Ah!
course, my wife and I were like, "No, no, you will not see us again." And they saw us again three more times. So. Um, but what strikes me, and the point that I wanted to press on a bit more is um, that I don't know if it's maybe a bit of a subliminal issue that people might think, oh no, childbirth is a very dangerous thing. It's very complicated. It's
It's
and
not.
hospitals and doctors will punt all of the terrible things, all of the stuff that can go wrong, and have you absolutely petrified, saying, "Please, doctor, help us," right? Instead of what's probably, again, in my opinion, probably a bit more of a realistic approach to say it's not a medical condition, it's a natural process. And then from that, in our case, we had two hospital births and three home births, right?
Mm.
The three home births were water births, and this was after our own kind of extensive sort of research on the subject.
Mm.
Just feeling like after that first hospital experience,
Yeah,
that
thank you.
doesn't really seem right,
Yeah, I
and
always think this poor baby having to watch all these lights coming out, right? When you can do it
yeah,
at home, in the water, in the dark, in the warmth.
in
I
your
mean,
own
I know. I
space.
mean, I could talk about it forever. That was the most romantic experience you can imagine. I mean, I know people think you're crazy. Oh, then let me actually add something. The other thing I hear from time to time, they're going, Alexandra, you're religious, right? There is not a more atheist person in the world than me. This has nothing to do with religion. I'm not making children because of a religious belief. I'm not religious. I'm
Yeah,
making children because I believe I'm an intelligent woman. I'm married to an intelligent man, and we should make children. And the proof is they're all five just absolutely wonderful. I mean, they're all different than me. I'm, politically right-leaning. I have a very left-leaning daughter. That brings lots of animation to the table.
Okay.
There are crazy stuff happening with five children. It actually challenges my life view and my worldview a lot of times. But my gosh, it's the only thing that really matters. I did a lot of things in my life, a lot of professional things, a lot of private things that I'm proud of, but nothing comes even close to having children. Nothing. And I know
Yeah.
that when you don't have any, you all think we're crazy. And again, this is not romantic. This is a heck of a job, and better look for a partner that does his part, because two adults doing each 50% is the only way to get this done. If you have to do more, I
I
cannot
agree.
tell you how much I worship single parents. I have no idea how they do it. I mean,
Exactly.
this is
Yeah, for what they
crazy
go
job.
through. Yeah, I
Exactly.
agree.
But again, please consider it. Don't wake up too old and then suddenly realize that was it. Your life is over and you have no kids. All the money
Yeah,
in the world. What are you going to do with it?
yeah,
I mean, this is worth nothing in the end.
yeah. And challenge the status quo. When they
Yeah.
come, when the professionals come and tell you about the dangers of childbirth, uh, challenge them with your own common sense, with your own intuition about what seems. I think there's this sort of, it sort of dates back to um, I don't know how many sort of kings, we have to go back in time to when there were preferences for how someone should even give birth, right? And
Yeah.
and unnatural, essentially unnatural interferences have entered the medical world when it comes to childbirth so severely that it traumatizes mum and
Yeah,
baby, you
completely
know?
agree. Completely agree. Now, Claude, let me get back to your home birth because this is another of my passions. Do you feel there's a difference between the three younger children born at home and the two older children born in hospital in terms of cognitive behavior, uh, ease of catching diseases or whatever? Because with us, there's clearly something. Oscar's the one born at home, the youngest one. He's never been ill. The most self-assured guy. I mean, maybe it's just a character thing, but there you go. You have four siblings that are not the same, and the most. He's just calm in himself. He
Yeah.
owns himself. That's it, and that's his character. While the other ones, there's always some nervousness about it. Because it took me longer than you. Congratulations, having understood after the second birth. I only understood after the fourth. But anyway, I mean, clearly the home birth produced a child that is so healthy in himself, so strong in it's never been shattered. You understand? He's just
Yes.
very, very special.
Yeah, I agree that the bond isn't broken. There's no point in time where they say, right, we need to take baby away and get baby measured and get baby checked out and and all of
Yeah.
that stuff.
Take
But
blood.
they're with mum or dad pretty
Yeah.
much the whole time. And it's just that interference is gone. I mean, we for home births we've had lovely midwives who come to the house and bring a huge amount of equipment with them, but they're great, and it's great in the sense that you write a birth plan, and because it's your turf, right? So it's kind of your rules, provided certain criticalities are in check. The midwives are there, and they'll have an ambulance on call, that type of thing. Provided all they're happy with that, and you sort of almost been signed off to it, then it's your game, it's your space, and it is a different experience. I recall our firstborn in hospital, and she was mum and baby were exhausted after a
Yeah, I
night,
mean,
a
first birth is
long
tough
long
anyway, right?
laborious night. Yeah,
Mm,
bright, as you say, bright lights, lots of interference.
mm,
We started pushing back to say, look, you've got the monitors and everything strapped everywhere, and mum can't move around and
mm.
get comfortable and go through this process,
I hear you.
and it's very traumatizing, and for me as the guy, I felt quite helpless,
Yeah,
to be
you're
to be
just standing there
perfectly
as a
honest.
spectator.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes, exactly. Now with home births, completely different.
yeah,
Uh,
you were an
um,
actor.
yeah,
Now, funny story, funny other story, funny nice side effect about home birth. I mean, can you imagine? We're really scaring them. So we started off telling them make kids, and now the two of us tell them just bring them at home at birth in some water, and that's it. Sorry about everybody being shocked now, but that's it. But just for the little last story
I
to
know,
that.
but come along for the
So
ride. Yeah.
our fifth one, Oscar, was born in this little town in the south of France called Mougins. And so usually when you do it at the hospital, they have a center where you get them into the register, right? So that this is all organized by the hospital because you're giving birth there, but this was not done at the hospital. This was done at home. So we had a doctor there as well. And she said, so the next morning, the father has to go to town hall and declare the birth. So my husband next morning went there. At the town hall, they were enthusiastic. This was the first child born in decades in this little town, because usually
Oh
they're always
wow.
born in Glass or in Cannes in the clinic. And so this is one of the first children born
Awesome.
again in the little town. That was the cutest thing.
New life.
Exactly, it
That's
is.
Oh,
It is.
stunning, stunning.
So he's very proud every time he just got his U.S. American passport, and it says "Born in Mougins, France." And I was like, I'm sure there is no other American that has in his U.S. passport that is born in that little town in France.
That is so stunning. It's so, yeah,
It is.
yeah,
It is.
yeah. Thank you for
yeah.
sharing. It's a really great story.
Yeah, and we don't want to, we don't want to blame anybody or make anybody afraid, but we also, I mean, I just feel that there is nobody advocating for having children, and we should advocate for having children.
Yeah, I concur. I concur, and it's like even though we've shoehorned the subject into our discussion this evening, it is
Sorry, Julian and Daniel. There we were with all our home birth and stuff.
It's fine. I mean, we can have like a special episode.
yeah, yeah. It's true. It's probably is a bigger discussion.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I also for one as well wouldn't mind taking questions and just helping people, just enlighten people on the basis of our own experiences, really. And
Same.
it's absolute chalk and cheese. I'd have to say, without a shadow of a doubt, I would never ever advocate for anything but a home water birth with,
Same.
unless there's some medical condition, which is generally the minority case. We got the I can even describe the birthing pool, which is the blow up one, the inflatable
Yeah.
birthing
You
pool.
rented one? You
It-
rented one?
Well, we did for one of our home births, we did, but after that, we just bought one basically. 'Cause
Oh my.
we were into that.
Ramping
We
up
were,
production.
we were into our expanding
be
the
the first-
family stage.
Exactly. You can be the first Tesla X driver bringing the rental, the pool to the birth sites.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, just one interesting point is that the baths they use for water birthing in the hospitals are like a hard material, right? So
Yeah.
it's like
In
a
wooden,
bathtub. It's like a
Yeah.
bathtub, right? But the inflatables are a lot more comfortable for mum. To be perfectly frank, it's just yeah, and having seen seeing the array of births that I've witnessed in my own family, I can say with my hand on my heart, I know exactly which one is the best, and I
There you
wouldn't
go.
advocate for anything else. It's like once you've driven a
Hopefully you
Tesla, are you going to try and sell someone a nice
So
car?
the big question is there a number 6 coming?
Like I said in the story when we were saying, after number 2, we were adamant that there will be no more, right?
So
I do believe we have reached our limit, okay? But I've learned not to
what to say?
not to be
And I
too
hear them and
certain.
now, give me a bonus question. From which number onwards did it get easier? Oh, I think I just got him at the wrong moment.
Yeah.
So did you hear me?
Sorry,
No.
come again, Alexandra. Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
I've-
So
I've
from
got-
which
I've-
number of children on did it get easier? Was it after the first that it got easier, or after the third, or
Okay.
did it never get easier?
No, number 1 turns your world upside down. Number
That's
2
true.
turns the world upside down again. But number 3 gets slotted into the same kind of sausage machine, because now you've got all the hand-me-downs are there, you've got all the clothing, you've got all the shoes,
Exactly
you've
it.
got bedding. So, yeah, so number 3 was actually, in a way, it's more work, but it's easier.
I agree with you. From
If that
number
makes
3
any
on,
sense.
so much easier.
Model 3.
Yeah.
There
From
you
then
go.
It just
Maybe
goes.
Anyway, that was interesting discussions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for coming on online, especially Alexandra and Daniel, you from the US, there's the little
There you
one.
Just
From
want to say good night, everybody, and thanks for such a great
Good night.
talk.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah,
Thanks for
and-
joining us, Daniel, Alexandra. A pleasure, guys.
And also Oliver Quinn in the chat from YouTube.
Yes.
Yes, great comments, guys. Yeah,
You're invited, right, Oliver? Just reach out on Twitter and write us a message.
yeah.
And you can also join.
And as you know, we're a very young channel. This is just episode 2, but we're here to participate. So thanks everybody. It's been
Thank
great.
you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Speak soon.
Cheers for now, guys.
Bye bye.